Welcome, ghouls, ghoulettes, and guesties to GonstFM Off Air, the official podcast companion to 66.6 GonstFM, the internet radio station dedicated to the band Ghost and the wider Gonst community. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we are concluding our Road to Skeletá series with our review on Skeletá. And when we last left you guys, it was the end of Impera, which we kind of glossed over the release of Rite Here Rite Now, which I guess we can jump into where Rite Here Rite Now leaves off and into the album build for Skeletá, because lest we forget, everybody, this band had us looking at a fucking billboard for 3 days.
This is a really genius lead-in, right? Because at the time of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they had worked on the album simultaneously to the movie. So they had a good idea of, if not, I think it was pretty much in the can recording-wise, and it got remixed at some point, he had mentioned. But there was a pretty good idea, I feel like, at that time of where things were going. And when I first came out of Right Here, Right Now, obviously it ends with, and we'll get into it, the shadow of Papa V, who we know now, the new guy, kind of teasing and mirroring the shot of Copia, from chapter 1. And I love that. But I was wondering, is that because the costume's not done? They don't know what the album's going to be and what the songs are like. But sure enough, they had a pretty good idea at the time of what was going to be coming. And I just have to say, I absolutely love that cliffhanger, because it's a perfect way of completing an arc that started in 2018 with Cardinal Copia, and having him, the juxtaposition of having him standing where Sister and Neil stood, essentially, different set, but the same position, waiting for the new guy as they were waiting for him. He's no longer the guy behind the door. He's now on the other side, position of power, in charge of everything, right? Waiting for that door, that silhouette behind the door. It's such a beautiful kind of symmetry of watching. If you watch the chapters in the end of Right Here, Right Now together, it concludes that story beautifully. I didn't even think we'd get that, when I was going into the movie. So getting that teaser there just got me so excited, because it was like, wow, I remember trying to save photos of it, that people had taken from the movie on my phone, just so I'd have a photo of the new Papa, to obsess over details and shapes and everything, And then it was kind of radio silence for a little bit.
Yeah, this is not a knock. It's just because, I know how excited people in the fandom get, but, dude, that silence was killing so many people. They were just like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, give it time. Let him cook.
I always said I survived the final gig named Death, and then 2 years with the pandemic of radio silence, but constant T-shirts being pumped out on the website of Papa 4 with no word on when. And then that Loudwire article, oh yeah, the album's coming out in December. Oh, sorry, that was a mistranslation. It's not coming out in December. It's coming out in December of next year or whatever it was. It was just if we could survive that, we could survive whatever it was, the couple of months it was for, the tour announcement.
That was the gotcha bitch moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and we had a brand new song to go over, and the movie in theories, it kept the fandom alive, I feel like,
The tour announcement was the thing, because I knew that was what was happening. There was no fucking way that we weren't going to get something of a massive nature, because as this band's history has shown, they kind of repeat, certain things.
Yeah. I was talking to a lot of my friends at the time, and, we had a couple of pieces of information. I have a thing that I've done for every cycle, and some people know about it, some people don't. It's that I've accurately predicted every cycle and when they'd be back. Based off of not, superiority or knowing anything, they're just predictable. They do the same types of things. If you follow the patterns, I had a thing in my, notes app of this date to this date, this is how long each gap was. And I'm able to figure it out pretty reasonably. Not to mention, this show had Richie on, and we kind of had some inklings to when, that was going to happen and when they'd be back, and it lines up perfectly. It makes sense. It's what everyone expected.
Right.
So, there's a degree of all right, let's look to the fall,
Everybody became Charlie Day. That Charlie Day meme with the fucking strings and the maps and all that shit.
Yeah. Can we talk about talking about the tour announcement, that rollout for that, right? Arena is starting to post photos. One was a plushie, one was, Papa 4 and the moon.
What tour?
I love how clueless. And then we got that chapter, right? And then it's yep, massive tour, the biggest tour they've ever done. Huge, then we get the drop of the phone free, experience, which, I'll go on record saying I was completely expecting that. After he had said after the LA rituals that he was, going to do whatever it takes to try and get that every show, like I was fully expecting that. I don't know if you know anything about this band, that's not shocking to me.
Same. And that honestly leads into, as this album rollout is happening, a giant nostalgia trip, to the era of, we didn't have cell phones at concerts in the 80s and like the early 90s. Hell, even like the late 90s, we didn't have anything with like camera phones. We had flip phones and shit, but it wasn't not like we have now. Yeah. And the album rollout style, on MTV, like VH1, all these music channels back in the day, you had tour footage, like especially in the 80s with like Headbangers Ball, which they're doing with the Ghoul Bangers Ball thing here. They're showing you exclusive stuff like from the tour, because obviously it's not going to be put online by fans. Like the band is actually in control of what you're seeing, and they're presenting it in the way that they want it to be presented. And I think it actually is hyping the tour up more so than, seeing, and it's no offense to anybody that loves this stuff, because we all were looking at TikTok during the Copia and Papa IV eras, but it's nice to have an album roll out without a ton of TikTok edits, kind of, just flooding shit. It makes the band putting this stuff out mean more, and it's more special when it comes from their official social medias, and you're seeing professionally done clips of this band live, which we thought we weren't going to get.
It's cool too, because it brings the mystery that Ghost once had back a little bit. Of this kind of, they do rituals and you can go and see them and it's a rock spectacle and it's, whatever. Back in the day, people always talk about how there's not much footage or, and there is, but, there's not as much footage of, the earlier eras. And it kind of goes back to that kind of mysterious, like anyone can say anything happened and it's true, and that's right. The best type of press, like back to like Alice Cooper or Ozzy Osbourne, how the stories evolve, of what happens and, become something else. And it's kind of perfect for that type of thing, to where the mystique and the mystery and the lack of information can build more hype, because you don't know what you're going to get.
It's enticing to want to see the rest of it, because you can hear people that have gone to these rituals and they're like, oh yeah, this happened. But it's another thing to see it, and experience it.
And talking about the tour and the rollout, one thing I think that's important to mention too, is this is a lot of people's first time experiencing a new Papa.
The more that I have noticed in, our respective Facebook groups, this is a lot of people's first time buying a vinyl record. This is the first time people are experiencing like a concert. Like I've seen people online talk about this is their literal very first big deal concert. I think that's the coolest fucking shit ever, because I remember growing up, I say that I'm privileged in the fact that like my dad had worked in the radio industry for so long. So I kind of got to see everybody coming in and out of the town that I'm from. I've seen everything from like Blue Oyster Cult to Foghat to Warrant to Slaughter to Quiet Riot, all these bands that just came through. And I didn't think anything of it because I was so used to seeing these guys, like literally talking to them like I'm talking to you, and it was no big deal. But to see people get excited over like, hey, this is the first big band that I'm seeing. I remember my first big concert outside of my town was seeing AC/DC in 2001 at the Compaq Center in Houston, Texas. And it was one of the coolest fucking shows I've ever been to. Slash's Snake Pit was the opening band. For anybody out there that doesn't know what that is, that's fucking Slash from Guns N' Roses. Slash. Yeah.
I remember my first big concert that I went to was Kiss. And I bring that up, and I got to bring it up because I'm a huge Kiss fan when I was growing up. Still am. Ultimate nostalgia band for me, and there's a lot of shades of that in this album and this era for me. But I remember going, and just experience for the first concert, I had my dad paint my face, in our hotel room with cheap, Halloween face paint. And, I had my homemade t-shirt and my like little spikes on it, which is not dissimilar to what people are doing now, getting ready with their Papa costumes and their outfits and everything. And, I remember just the excitement of going to this big arena and seeing the tour buses and the merchandise stands and all the different designs and the curtain dropping, the curtain up with the logo and it dropping and the fireworks and they were there, these larger than life, comic book characters really, in front of my eyes coming down on this platform with smoke and fire, and the stage is lit up and I could feel the heat from the back of the arena and our nosebleed seats and just rock spectacle. and I left forever changed by that. And it was like drugs. I had to go back and back and back. I saw them 12 more times after that. Even on their last tour, I just kept going. And then I saw Black Sabbath and so many bands, who would come just for that arena rock spectacle,
Right.
And Ghosts are carrying that on. And, it'll be so many people's first time experiencing that. And they'll tell their kids one day it's the same thing,
I think you nailed it right on the head. It's very exciting because it is bringing back everything that like our generation grew up on, where we're seeing these larger than life bands in huge arenas with this huge sound. And I feel like this album in particular, Ghost really made an effort, Tobias really made an effort to expand the sound from Meliora to Prequel. Like you saw the arc happening, and then from Prequel to Impera, where it's like, okay, here's kind of a more refined sound of what I would love to do, not rock opera-esque sounding, but this is like the shit I grew up on. Tobias probably like, this is the shit I grew up on. I feel like that idea was much more fleshed out and fully realized with Skeletá in terms of scope, the music itself, the art, the direction, the freedom, really.
You can, whether you like it or not, they're a band playing arenas now. And the songs have to hold up for arenas. I love Opus Eponymous. I love the first 3 albums. I love the spooky small little Pope band. But I'm well aware that those songs and those gimmicks and that stage presence does not work in an arena setting.
No.
You can't fill that stage. It does not work in the same way. And so you have to adapt. And I've always said, I said this last episode, the best way for Ghosts or to, fill an arena stage would be to pivot to this kind of 80s Iron Maiden Kiss kind of over-the-top theatricality in sound and scope on record.
Yeah, because the music can be whatever it wants to be, because the look never needs to change drastically, but there's a way, like you mentioned, to adapt it to this format, because Papa 4, he still was carrying the flag of like the face painted Papa, and now with Papa V, we're getting that glam rock because it is a full like the dude. Like I'm talking about the characters. Like the dude is 100% that bitch. You know what I mean? Like he's very showy, and I think the Pope robes and the costumes being extra. I really mean extra. It's like it works.
Not to spoil anything, but it's a moment in the show, and I won't give it away for those who haven't seen it and want to stay spoilers, but the moment where he does wear those robes is not just him coming out for conclave or anything like it was in the past. It is a theatrical planned moment in the show that involves technical aspects that is supposed to be a showstopper moment early on in the set.
Yes. So when this album was actually announced, I think a lot of people were kind of thrown back by the name, which, everybody kind of had a theory of what it was going to be called. I think Skeletá was like the very, like, obviously, like nobody's going to guess, like the album title and shit like that. But I feel like the name, it was like, okay, that's interesting. Let's see what this is about. And the more that Tobias was doing interviews talking about the writing process and the songs that were on this forthcoming album, he talked about it being, like you and I have mentioned, he talked about it being less of a connective tissue and more of a batch of songs, but the connective tissue being that they are all about introspection and human emotions that we all experience. And I think that fits the title of Skeletá perfectly, because, it's to the bone. It's self-reflection. It's looking inward. And I think that some people that were like, oh, it's not like satanic enough and shit like that. And not necessarily, because like, correct me if I'm wrong, but as a Satanist, that's one of the biggest aspects is looking inward and self-evaluation and introspection.
If you're going to worship anything, worship yourself,
Correct. That
is a huge part of it. And this album deals heavily with that. Should we touch upon the billboard at all?
Yeah, dude, look, everybody out there, look, if you're listening to this podcast, like you obviously know we were all in a fucking chokehold over this damn billboard for like 3 days. Like Ghost really had us watching a fucking looped video on YouTube for 3 days, being like poking. That meme with the stick figure poking the thing. Like, come on, do something. That's literally it.
But talk about genius marketing, right? Like the conclave thing, the smoke, right, and all of that. Like I loved leaning into that, and then launching, the blasphemy heresy and being like the faithful will be rewarded. It's all great marketing that does something I love, which is when they lean into the kind of religious Catholic Church mockery kind of thing. You know, it was a perfect way to set up the unveiling of Papa V in the Satanized video.
I loved that reveal so much, and that video, which we'll get into an entire series of the music videos from this band, but like the key moment in there was when it went from a 4:3 ratio to a 16:9 ratio in slow motion, and it faded into color, and that synth build, and it was just, oh, I got chills just talking about it. It's so fucking cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Bedazzled shiny bitches.
Yep. And seeing those ghouls for the first time, and there's our new Papa.
Fucking 10-foot tall Papa.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking at whenever that happened. I was like, that's a big robe. He's fucking tall. That hat's fucking huge.
He's tall, yeah. Big boy.
Yeah. I thought that was a very great marketing strategy, and it got everybody hyped as shit. You know, jumping into the album, one of the cool things about this one is there are no instrumental pieces on this one. And I think this is the first Ghost album without instrumental pieces.
And in a way, it feels like there are. But there isn't, you know, and we'll get into that. But some of these songs it makes up for the lack of instrumental tracks with more intricate proggy passages.
Yeah, I don't think this album would have worked any other way. Peacefield is so good. It's almost like an unlikely opener because most of the Ghost albums have really, really, really high energy, like, you know, faster. I say high energy, like faster tempo. You know what I mean? Like faster tempo kind of openings are like, you know, Spirit was like a really grandiose kind of thing. Peacefield is like right out of the gate. It is so Journey. It is so Genesis. That era in like late 70s, early 80s rock and roll and like pop. Like this is one of the most pop songs on this album. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there like, oh, fucking Ghost went pop. Dude, they've always kind of been pop.
We're talking about a band who described on their MySpace themselves as a devil worship in Kansas. And this song could have been a song by Kansas.
This is
or
true.
Foreigner or any of those, you know, 70s kind of, you know.
Or Boston.
Yeah. See, that's where I'm from. I'm a New England boy. We love our Boston.
That was the shit whenever I was growing up. I fucking love that band.
One of the best debut albums of all time. My opinion.
Goddamn right.
I absolutely love that first record, and I can hear that influence all over this record.
The guitar tone is the first thing that you really hear, like when this opens up. You know, the double time hi-hats and that slide into the, you know, guitar lick. Oh god, and the tonal quality on that. This album can literally have been dropped in that era, and you would never know the difference. Like the production style was so authentic.
And it kicks in right on that riff. The vocals come in, and this is a song for me meant to be a bombastic opener for live. This song works in the album. It does, absolutely. But it wouldn't work somewhere else on the track listing. It is an opener. It's an introduction. It takes, I think, almost 2 minutes to get fully into the song. You know, if you're listening to the album version, it takes a while. This is not, you know, you're kind of like, as pop as is, it's not very much of a radio single. It's a theatrical building song.
Which this one, actually, as of this recording, was just released as a promotional single. Complete
Which
with...
is amazing to me.
The way that they presented this was so well done. And I love that they just put live footage in there. Now, there was some, you know, other like footage that they shot for this, or maybe it's stock footage, or I don't know. But the way it was presented with the 4:3 ratio, the camera shutter speed on the lens was like that whole thing made me feel like I was watching, you know, something from like 1985, 1986, you know?
It reminds me so much of all those videos. Like even like bring the Journey comparison up, you know, Faithfully is a tour video.
Yes.
Right. It has that narrative throughout it too. But I always remember watching that video when I was younger and being like, wow, you know, you see them on stage and the big, huge rock show and the fans coming in and everything. And there's this narrative of intercut with videos of, in that case, it's videos of, you know, the band, you know, Steve Perry shaving, you know, just little silly vignettes and stuff. But, you know, it's that type of thing, you know, where so many other bands did it too, but everyone's comparing this on the Journey. So I got to bring up that Journey comparison there. One of my favorite bands, but I love that kind of nostalgia of that. And this track too, like that chorus, the first time you hear it, it's like, oh, okay. It sets you up for where the album's going to go, but also not.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I love that it's not a predictable album. Like it is, but it is not. You know, like
the singles are misleading.
That's exactly what I was getting to. It's like, okay, and how funny that they put the singles out and they're the first 3 fucking songs on this album.
Yeah. You get almost an entirely different album after, you get done with the singles. You get a whole new album.
And I think that's the fun of it.
It is. And I'll say it up front. I have very little negative things, if any, to say about this.
Same.
This album for me flows phenomenally. My only complaint is it goes by so fast. I put on Peacefield just to listen to Peacefield, and I always end up listening to the whole album. I don't know if there's any other album in the catalog for me that whenever time I put on the first song, I can't just listen to the first song. I gotta let it play through.
This motherfucker over here with like a Lay's potato chips bag, you can't have just one. I swear.
Yep.
It's true though.
It's addicting.
Yeah, and then going from Peacefield into Lacrima, which, that video, okay, like, so the song and the video also has the fandom in a chokehold because it is the reveal of Papa V singing. And, there was a meme that went around where they were just, or a post that went around like, oh, Ghost is one of the only bands that we know of that the entire fandom collectively loses its shit over the singer moving its mouth. It's like, well, I mean, for fuck's sake, it's been 20 years.
Yeah. And this song is so interesting because it simultaneously could have fit on like Meliora really easily with that, heavy riff, that kind of, slow trotting drum beat. It's also kind of Metallica-esque in a way. But it's very 80s. It's very that kind of, mid-tempo rock banger with those cool synths.
This is 1985 Ozzy Osbourne meets Def Leppard.
Yes, I can see that. Absolutely. And it goes so well because it's what I always say about Ghost. I said it last episode, say it again. His first couple albums, Black Sabbath-y kind of stuff. This is like full 80s Ozzy solo, which I love, And there's also, I don't make the comparison, there's some of this 80s Kiss DNA in there. And I don't mean 80s Kiss when I'm talking about like, like Lick It Up or stuff like that. I mean like Revenge era Kiss, like Unholy.
It's like Creatures of the Night.
That type of,
Kiss is layered in there. Fucking Def Leppard. Def Leppard, like a motherfucker, is layered in this album.
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like we sometimes bring up these bands in modern culture now when we talk about them, how cheesy it was. And it's easy to write those bands off as, the neon pants and the spandex and the kind of, Motley Crue or any of these bands. There's some Motley Crue in there too. But, we think about them and it's like, oh yeah, the 80s cheesy excess, synths and hair metal and laugh off, Bret Michaels, and the Rock of Love and all that. But this is the peak time of the Satanic Panic. Whether it was Dio or whatever, or Ozzy, this type of stuff, it sounded like this and it was upsetting parents.
Yeah, no shit. But, and at the same time, writing it off as cheesy and all this shit, but were you having a good time? Were you having fun? Because that's what this is. That's what this is.
Bad.
Yeah, exactly. Lacrima is a fun song, dude. Like,
I love it.
I do too. And because it's got that heaviness, like, dare I say, this might be one of the heavier songs on this album, and just riffage wise it is.
Yeah, and it might be the heaviest track for me.
What's crazy though is like it's heavy as shit, but it's also the most pop fueled in the chorus, dude.
Oh yeah,
it's
down
so
to those
done
backing vocals in the video. The Ghoulettes, the 3 Ghoulettes behind Papa. It's like some type of vaudeville singer, with the backup singers. It's that type of thing. It's so poppy. And that synth coming in and the, arpeggios and stuff, it's great. But then those verses come in and it's this really kind of, I'll bring the Kiss comparison up again. And I'll do that a lot in this episode as I'll explain. But this feels like this could have been a song that like a demon song on like an 80s Kiss record, like that just really kind of vampire lyricism and, that kind of almost spoken word kind of aggression behind it. And it works so well for that. It's that kind of almost more spooky thing, which has been in Ghost DNA since the first record. Through all these albums, this is not too far off from like, the verses of Cerise or, Absolution.
Absolutely. And like a couple of other influences, like, I mean, obviously like repeating like Def Leppard, I feel like the chorus is giving Foolin' by Def Leppard, like, as far as the vocal harmonies and shit. However, that beginning synthesizer is also giving Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner.
The influences are strong on this album. You could find probably on all these songs a parallel to something, and it immediately captures it. Well, I was talking to someone the other day, and it was like it's paying homage without ripping off.
Oh, 100%. That's probably the best way to put it. Moving on to Satanized, which was the lead single for this one. I think was because Tobias didn't expect the label to pick this one as the single, like leading for this one. And I'm kind of glad that they picked this one, to be honest. It feels, when I say this, I don't mean like, oh, they fucking pushed out. Like, it was the safe lead single. It was a safe song to pick because it's got that swingy, boppy kind of like, and the vocals, like the melody of like the verses, it's very Ghost. It is absolutely 100% what you might actually expect from this band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it almost feels like I hate this term, but return to form. And I don't mean that as if they like fell off, but it's a return to what you know and might have expected. You know, spooky Pope church rock, organs, tritones, spooky Black Sabbath-y, proggy Blue Oyster Cult 70s rock. With that 80s, you know, Impera stuff thrown in there with the solos and the chorus and the shine and everything to it. But it introduces you to one thing this album has, which is a rawer production than its predecessor. And it really does a good job of giving you something familiar while easing you into the more kind of out there elements.
Yeah, I gotta say that's a big step up from Impera, honestly, production wise, as far as like the drums feel more full. The instruments are better mixed, in my opinion.
It feels to me more like this album, I could buy this as people in a room playing. You know, there's this kind of rawness to it as opposed to something maybe where Impera, I can tell that it's all isolated. This feels a little more, there's parts where the guitar even is almost clipping. It's very saturated. It's very raw. It's almost kind of overblown. This album has a feeling of being very well produced while at the same time feeling raw and visceral, which works really well with the lyrics of the album and the themes because it's to the bone. There's increased production and production value on all of these tracks, Satanized included, but it never to me feels overproduced. It feels produced and it feels a bit more raw and real and stripped down while at the same time being very well produced. You know, it doesn't feel like there's this glossiness over it that's just kind of covering it, you know? Right.
And dare I say, there's a few tracks on here where like, okay, so like if you look at Impera, it's like you get in the studio, you get your drummer in the studio and it's like, okay, let's get these drum tones down and go. And they leave the exact drum tone for every song on that album. Now, with this one, it's cohesive enough that you know it's from this album, but I feel like the drum tonal quality is slightly different for most of the tracks on here where, you know, it goes from one to the other, where like Lacrima has that real, like the snare is more slapped. There's more of a slap to the snare, whereas on Satanized, there's more depth and more like center of drum punch on there. It's instead of like a rim shot, you know, like most people, when they hear like the drums, it's like, okay, well, they don't think much to it in terms of that, but like being a drummer, I'm sorry if I'm speaking Greek to most of you guys out there, but like there is a method of playing where you can strike the center of the snare drum and get a more full sound, or you can do what's called a rim shot where you're hitting the snare drum in the center of the head, but your stick is also hitting the rim, which gives a good slap and it gives a good crack on the snare. And that's kind of what Lacrima was, but Satanized has that real 70s Sabbath like snare drum tone to it.
This album has a lot of tonal variety in it. Even the guitars, you know, sometimes they're more saturated and they're more, it's almost like the gain's adjusted, you know, where it's a little more in your face. Sometimes it sits back a little bit further. Right. You know, sometimes it's double track. Vocals too. Sometimes they're double tracks, but a lot of times for the first time, and Tobias talked about this, they're just single track vocals. He's not double tracking every single line, you know, pulling the Ozzy trick.
Which that was one of my favorite things that Ozzy did was the tape, like because he would double track on tape, which gave it that real kind of ethereal kind of quality whenever he would sing. It's what gives Ozzy his signature sound. You know what I mean? Like there's no mistaking it.
You know, and a bunch of people have done that now since, and Ghost, you know, always do that, but it almost, there's a confidence vocally too on it, and you hear it in Satanized.
Yeah, I think Tobias really stepped his game up. Not that he ever like needed to, but being a musician, and I think he is the same caliber of musician that like everybody really strives to be, where like you're not satisfied doing the bare minimum or satisfied doing the same thing. It doesn't matter how good your last effort was, you want to do better the next time, every fucking time.
Absolutely.
Lyrically, I think this is some of his best work. And I think vocally, this is his best work. Not this song, but just this album as we progress.
Oh, yeah. I hate to jump back song, but that little vocal slip in Lacrima, we've never heard him do something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
I love that.
Yeah. There's tons of new techniques throughout this that show growth as a singer and trying new things and trying new sounds, and even Satanized. It's while it is familiar, there's new sounds all throughout this whole album. This doesn't feel like Impera 2, even though it's still a very 80s rock album.
Moving from Satanized to the first of 2 ballads on this record, Guiding Lights. And I will admit, upon first listen, it didn't take me out, but I was not expecting like going from Satanized, how it ends, and then like this real pretty piano piece building into the song, which, goddamn, dude, Guiding Lights is so good.
It is. It's a Skid Row ballad.
Yes, it is. Yes,
it's that. There's like shades of 18 in Life, shades of like I Remember You, other bangers from that time.
Yeah. This is like late 70s Journey, Styx, Foreigner. That's the vibe that I got from it. But like the vocals are 100% Sebastian Bach.
The guitar part too. It has those little, those arpeggiated chords that kind of shift. It reminds me of, the intro to 18 in Life a little bit when it comes in. Great drumming, just rock solid meat and potatoes drumming, awesome solo. This is a great track.
This is a big sing-along chorus too, man.
Yeah. And it didn't grip me at first. It's one of those ones where it's like after I listened to the album, it started to get stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. It wasn't a bad thing because like most people take that as like, oh, it didn't grip me right away. Well, you didn't like it? No, I fucking loved it. It's just like it took me, like you said, it took me a couple listens where I was like, okay, I like in context with everything else, it sounds great, and I think it's one of Ghost's better slow songs. Really,
I agree. It's right up my alley, and I'll always say it. I grew up, listening to all of those bands: Foreigner, Journey, Kiss. Def Leppard.
There's some REO Speedwagon in here too, man. I forgot about those fuckers.
That. Or Kansas too, a little bit.
Yeah.
Vocal melody wise, and yeah, it's that type of. Toto.
Thank you. Yes. Fun fact. Singer from Toto is from a town literally like 30 minutes from me.
Really?
Yes, sir.
That's cool. I saw them on Journey like 2 years ago.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
So yeah, I love Guiding Lights. It's hard to pick between those two as far as like which ballad is like the banger, more of the banger, I should say, on this one.
I think I have one. I think for me, it's this one.
Same.
Yeah. And then we move along.
Yeah, to De Profundis Borealis.
Yeah.
Which I love the return of Latin on this album.
This track, too, is in the contenders. I have to think more on the Rose, but it might be my favorite Ghost song in the entire catalog.
Damn, that's a lot. That's saying a lot.
That is saying a lot, but I can't express to you how much this track gripped me. Lyrically, musically, and just it is what I want out of a rock song. It's just driving, heavy. It reminds me of the best parts that I love off of like Emphasis Mum and Meliora, mixed with that kind of 80s rock thing and that chorus. I'm a sucker for that beat. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I am to that.
Right? Yeah, I'm a sucker for that. I will always love that. And the chorus, and the vocals soar. They soar. And there's that chuggy Iron Maiden-esque kind of riff going on. And this whole thing, it's just like, it's pummeling, And the lyrics about frost and snow and regret. And, that great lyric. This track is phenomenal.
I loved how Tobias described this one too, exactly like with the the snow and the winter and stuff. He said it was pretty much like just getting pelted in the face with like snowstorm, like the whole time. That's what he pictured when he wrote
chaos.
It is.
It's just noise. You have that, the snare drum, ba 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 ba, right? The whole thing, and those guitars, ba 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 ba. It chugs along, right? Like Spirit does on Meliora, right? Where it's that chugging, full on, almost Iron. It's Iron Maiden, for me is what I get a lot of. And you can absolutely see, someone running around the stage, like Bruce Dickinson, arena style, with this just huge live beat and this just, aggression to it, to where it's like, I've already been playing this on guitar almost every day.
I hope this makes it to the live set.
Oh, me too. There could be so many cool live moments with this. And that chorus is huge with great lead riffs. The solo is phenomenal. This track is one of the ones where it's just, I can't say enough about it. And the reason I say it might be one of my favorite Ghost songs is because it's just like, even outside of what I want from Ghost, this is what I would want out of a band. It's a catchy chorus. It's just what I like to listen to in my off time. So I always will come back to it. And my wife and I have had this song on repeat in the car. It's one that I always go back to. Yep, just got to listen to this track. It's always one of the ones that I'll always come back to. This track, I absolutely love it because it's heavy, but it's not heavy. It's aggressive. It's cool. It feels old school Ghost. It feels like Ghost to me, but it's also bringing something brand new in. That chorus doesn't feel like a Ghost chorus. It feels like 2000s radio rock chorus.
It sounds like a Coheed and Cambria chorus.
Yes. Like one of those bands that has like, I don't know, I don't want to say pop punk, but like the hookiness of a lot of that stuff that, well, so there's that genre of band that like maybe could have been on Warped Tour, but they weren't in the Warped Tour scene. They just kind of like had the radio hook appeal that kind of went in with that and the kind of alternative thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
There's certain bands where it's like they're not that type of band, but there's something about their sound that works with that. It reminds me of that type of thing.
And moving on from that into Cenotaph, which I love the juxtaposition of the lyrics versus the music itself, as described by Tobias himself. Like a cenotaph is like basically a tomb without a body in it, or it's like it's a memorial concrete fixture with no body inside of it. I like the lyrics to this one a lot, and it kind of reminds me of, and it's probably a weird comparison. I've brought this band up before, but it's kind of like how Man Overboard by Blink-182 is, where the music is really extremely happy, but the lyrics are like pertaining to a serious subject. It's pertaining to losing a friend to alcoholism, and Cenotaph is like kind of like a living memorial, like in a concrete like tomb sense. And the music itself, it starts with this really like fluttery keyboard riff, and then like the double time hi-hats. It's very Genesis-y, and it's very like it's like if Idolatrine was like a full-blown pop song.
It sounds like Transparent Orchestra. It's a really weird comparison, but if you think about that and you think about that band, the Christmas like metal band,
yeah,
and a lot of their stuff with those flowing synths, when then the ba-ba like hits of drums and guitar and stuff that they do in a lot of their stuff, it reminds me of that. And lyrically, I've mentioned it before on my social media stuff. This song hits hard because, the night that Satanized dropped, my father-in-law passed away. And as this rollout was happening, we were away. I missed a lot of it from being super involved online. And, we were going through the worst of the worst that you can go through in your life.
Yeah.
And while it's happening, I think it was Ticketmaster Italy really put the lyrics up to this song. And instantly it kind of shaped a little bit of how we were going to approach the personal situation to this, because for my wife, their dad raised them on Iron Maiden, Depeche Mode, Slayer, all these, he was a metalhead in the 80s, and this Genesis, this was like all right up his alley. And so we were going through hell, but knew that at the end of the tunnel, we had this album, and specifically we were waiting for this song because of those lyrics, because that was how we really treated that whole trip and how we were going to be dealing with everything, and how it's not to focus on the negative aspects of things, but we want to laugh. We want to have fun. We want to remember the good memories in those things. And this song perfectly evokes that for me. It's sad in its lyrics, but we're laughing and we're having fun,
Yeah, it's bringing up the good times, the good memories, instead of like dwelling on like the negative aspect of it. It's like, no, this again, kind of a living memorial. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
It is like the title is perfect. There probably is no better title for this song than Cenotaph. And musically, another comparison that is probably a little odd, but I think you'll see it. It's Naked Eyes, always something there to remind me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love this song now that I've thought more on it too, because personally in my own life philosophy, the way I always like to handle loss and tragedy is kind of I always say a New Orleans way of looking at it. We spent our honeymoon there, and that type of vibe of celebration of life. That's what this song feels like. It's a celebration of life. We all go eventually. This album heavily deals with that. We'll get there. You don't want people, your loved ones, to be sad. You want them to remember. You don't want to be thinking about someone, cold and dead. You want to think about them laughing and doing the funny things they would do and their stuff. And this song has that, captures that feeling of that so much of like, yeah, it's sad, but it will, the rain cloud will lift. It'll go away, and you'll be able to think of those funny things and those happy memories and remember this and that. And it almost does feel like the person's still there, even if they physically aren't.
Yeah, because I like the lyric, wherever I go, you're always there riding next to me. Like, I think that's so fucking perfect because it's real. Like,
there's another line, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's something on the lines of, it almost feels like I'm actually living.
Yeah, right here where it feels like I'm actually living, you were with me.
Yeah, that sums it up so perfectly.
Somebody that you love that's no longer with us is actually never truly gone for as long as you keep them in your heart and that you remember them.
Yeah, it's, and it's a surreal experience to be listening to this while being so fresh off of a huge loss like that. And it comes for you right in that right time. It's something everyone will experience one day. You'll all experience it and feel it in that way. And when you do, it is like that. You can choose to view it however you want, but if you view it in that way, I think that's the ultimate healthy way, is keeping memories alive, and remembering that you're here right now and you are alive.
So going from this song into Missilia Amori, which translates to Love Rockets.
Love Rockets.
Dude, look, I've said it before. I've said Def Leppard a million fucking times, but I feel like if there was ever a song that is not an amalgam of influences, but it's like a singular influence, it is Def Leppard, and it is this fucking song, because holy shit, that on the snare drum, that's very Rick Allen, and it's also Scorpions, which that I guess that could be another influence here too. That this song is so goddamn to the point. You know what I mean?
It is. It's their version of Love Gun too. Yep. It's that, it's that you can't misinterpret it. I know there is another meaning in there and stuff, but dude, I'm gonna say it too. This is one of my favorite songs on the album.
Same. Big same.
That riff, those drums, it's simple. The solo is simple. There's not a lot to talk about, but boy, does it hit. But I will say one thing that I don't see enough people talking about. This song has one of my favorite bridges on the album, and maybe in the entire catalog too. It gets me every single time. It's beautifully written.
The guitar harmonies are so great. And
it's got a couple of parts too. It's got that my missiles are aimed to launch at your heart. That part is different. It's got the wherever you may hide away. There's so many different passages in this that break it up from being just that sparse drum part and kind of 80s metal riff.
I like the way that he ties I don't know if I'm going to be explaining this correctly, but hopefully you understand. Like the listener, hopefully you understand this. When you do vocals to a song and you're layering them, you do backing vocals or you do lead vocals, and sometimes you set those up to play into one another seamlessly instead of like singing a whole verse and being like, okay, the verse is done. It's a complete sentence right there. And then like, hey, let's jump into the chorus here. I really like the way that in the third verse, he says, a man of faith is hard to find. You showed me yours. I'll show you my Love Rockets.
Yeah.
Like, it's not mine. I'll show you my Love Rockets. And it's like, that's fucking great. I loved that. It's not something new, but it was done very well.
Yep. This song is, oh my God, dude. I don't know. It's like, I went in with some hesitation, not because I thought it was going to be bad, but because I was like, there's two ways it could go. right? Cheese, I love cheesiness. There's good cheesiness. There's so bad, it's good cheesiness. And then there's just cheesiness that doesn't work. And while I had full faith in Tobias, I was always a little bit worried from the way people were describing it that maybe it wasn't going to hit. But it absolutely hits to the point where I was like, it took no time to win me over.
Yeah, this was an instant love for me.
This needs to be played live too.
Yeah, it better fucking be played live, man. And this whole album, you know, I've realized this before we talked about it, but even now in real time as we're talking about it, how much more I love this than I actually realized I did. You know what I mean?
It's no skip.
It really is no skip, dude. Like it's one of the first albums that I think, I'm mentioning this again, that has done this so authentically that it feels like I bought a time capsule from 1982 and I'm playing it in 2025. It's so great.
It makes me so excited to see the big arena show, listen to the album on the way there, you know, paint my face, have an experience. And just for me, going through the ritual this summer, I'm meeting up with friends and everything, and I got a hotel room. It's going to be like a vacation. And I can't wait to drive, you know, up to where I'm going to see them, you know, windows down in the summer, listening to this album in the car.
You know what, man? This is a good summertime album.
Yeah, dude. It's an album that you can put on and just really be kind of mindless because it goes by really quickly. It's got great songs. And when I say it goes by really quickly, I mean that as a positive. It flows so fast that it leaves you wanting more. Yeah. And you can listen to it again and again and again without ever feeling like, I don't know, that it goes on too long or that there's like, oh, I might have to skip this or whatever. It just goes. It's like a really good meal. You know, it's like it's like, oh, it's gone already.
Dude, I'm pretty fucking sure I wore the needle out on my record player the other day. I was flipping this son of a bitch over and over and over and over. I swear to God, I probably did that for 3 hours solid, just listening to it.
It's so easy to just replay and replay and replay and replay. And it never gets, and I don't know if any other album, there's probably a couple, but at least recently, I don't know if any other album really does that for me. To where as much as I love most albums, you know, I don't ever put on, I said it before, I put on Peacefield just to listen to Peacefield. It auto plays the album on my, you know, Apple Music or whatever, and I have to listen to it all. I can't just skip. Even if I'm just going to like, listen to Guiding Lights today, I listen to the rest of the album. I always do. I always make time for it, and it perfectly is my drive to work. Time length.
Oh hell yeah!
I just there and back. You know, it's just I can listen to it all the time, and I do.
Same. Moving on to as of right now. I'm not saying it won't change, and I'm not saying that it will change, but right now, this is my favorite song on this entire fucking album. This is Marks of the Evil One. And holy shit, dude. For everybody that was like, oh man, this isn't like satanic enough. This is about the fucking 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, dude. Let's fucking go. Hey, the third rider is cool, mind you.
Oh yeah. The third rider looks cool, you know, on his steed. The greatest line ever. This song is for me just behind, and that might change, you know. But this song is fighting there. I texted you right when I had first heard it, you know, that those two songs, The Profoundness and this one, Marks of the Evil One, were the ones that gripped me immediately, and I was like, dude, like, until you hear
I remember
Marks
that
of the Evil One.
I remember that text coming through. Just all it was just, dude, and I was just like, oh boy, I knew what you were going to say. Like this motherfucker is about to tell me, like, here's the banger on the album, like straight up.
The song starts. It's like this song is so Prequel to me.
Oh my God! Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I thought.
Like it is like a modern sequel to Witch Image, and it's spooky. It's got. Oh, dude, the chorus, I have goosebumps thinking about it. And it is, like you said, it is the apocalypse evil shit. It's like literally this album shifts at a point to where it's like the narrator is welcoming you to this, like, it's going to be okay. Satan and the horsemen are coming, but it'll be all right. You know, it's like comforting you through hell, you know, it's just like, it's this kind of almost like juxtaposition there, you know, but it's got this great groove. This album has a lot of drum parts to it that are not straightforward. They're groovy.
Yep.
You know, boom, boom.
This is one of my favorite drum performances, honestly. It really is.
Absolutely.
Like, Jesus. So I love that the verses, first of all, like before the drums, like I love that the verses, both of them deal with two of the writers apiece, which it's like, okay, cool, there's your verses. But obviously with any song, the chorus is the star of the show. But I feel like especially in this one, the chorus is so simple. Lyrically, it is so simple, but the melody, it is the hook that I remembered immediately after hearing it the first time. Because like you have to come back. It's like, oh, I got to remember that. I got to relearn that. No. There, the marks are spreading everywhere. There, the marks of the evil one. Like, it is the most simplistic fucking lyric, and it's so good. And it is another crowd sing-along. Because I can picture a sea of people in the arena just shouting, there, like in the chorus. Like, that, please play this live.
Pyro moments, oh, dude, this song could be phenomenal live.
Getting to that lyric, the third rider looks cool on a steed. It's like,
that's the coolest, funniest line, because it's like,
that is such a Tommy Wiseau line.
It's just like, it is. And I have a friend, and their Discord thing was, their status was, the third rider looks cool. And the Discord server was just like, I think the third rider looks cool. Does the third rider look cool today? It's like,
right.
It's such the funny
fucking memes about it, dude. I've seen memes in GonstFam where like it's that empty head meme where it's like, what's on my mind today? And it's just literally the third rider looks cool.
He looks cool, Richie.
He does. He looks very cool, Anthony. Have you seen him? He's on a steed. He's got a pair of scales in his hand.
Everyone looks cool on a steed. If you're on a steed, if you ain't steeding, you ain't feeding. I don't know.
The fourth rider is Death. Rides a steed pale and Hades follows him, which I love that, like, we're both on that mindset. This is a good Witch Image sequel because, hey, man, that fucking pale white horse just came back.
He's always there. Are we going to get another pale torn named Death? I'm just kidding.
I mean,
you never know. I bet that, we get the horse from the Rats video wheeled out on stage.
Like a Trojan horse?
Yeah, they just bring the horse out like a petting zoo to the rituals, and you could just like put 5 cents in like a thing, and it'll play Witch Image, and you can take a photo with the horse in the Rats video.
It's like a living hobby horse, like it's a little fucking
ministry petting zoo coming to an arena near you as part of the VIP experience.
Oh my god, I would pay top dollar for that shit, dude.
Just cardboard cutouts of like Rite Here Rite Now. It's just the horse. Just like a small pen. It's like a couple rats in cages. It's just like
the fucking
Rite Here Rite Now's petting zoo.
Yeah. Oh shit. The lyric in the pre-chorus, the follow on us and hide us from the tyrant who is satanically enthroned. I like that we get the Satan back. Literally mentioned because we were talking about that last episode. How Satan wasn't really mentioned, or a couple episodes ago even, like where Satan wasn't really mentioned. We had the one mention of like Lucifer in Prequel, and then certain alluding to the Dark Lord in Impera, but like he's named here, again.
He's named here, and he's while it's not literal, even in Satanized, we have the lead single of this album is Satanized, and it may be a metaphor for love in this case, but still. The presence is certainly there, felt on this album. Presence of death and Satan and, destruction. The ethics and morals of Satanism, the tenets, are all over this album as well.
Right. This album presents more evil than Impera was.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's less about the real world structures and more about the spiritual constructs of believing in oneself, believing in, emotions and finding that and regulating that, and also how spiritually too, and how people in society are looked upon, with like tracks like Satanized or this one or this track, because this can be interpreted politically too.
Yes,
of the marks, what they are, the signs of an evil. You'll see them right of whenever there's a dictator or whatever it is in any place of the world. So which. You can interpret it in so many different ways, but it is that kind of not the like, oh, Satan is my buddy thing. It is this is a terrifying figure you should be worried about. But at the same time, it's all right. Just they're there, you know? It's a good thing.
You made me think of Terrence and Phillip from South Park when he said, "Hey, Satan's my buddy." Hey, buddy. Hey, Satan, you're my guy, pal. You're my buddy, guy. That's.
I had a band once, and there was a guy, and he didn't like Ghost, and his reasoning was he wanted Satan to be portrayed as like terrifying and not like a buddy. He was like, I don't like that they're like, Satan is my buddy. Like, he's good. Like, we want to be friends with Satan. It's like,
I'm not your buddy, guy.
He's just like, I want to fuck Satan. You know, it's like, this is why I'm here. I am here to make music and to have sex with Satan. He was like, I want them to describe him as like Black Sabbath does. Like, you know, ominous force that will destroy you and your family. And I was like, he was like a big black metal guy. And I was like, all right, dude. Cool.
Yeah, he wants his Satan to be sitting on a rock over there, staring you down. You know, like some shit.
Yes, like you know. But this song kind of does that. You know, it's like beware. It's like the heralding the end times, right?
Right. I have to address this before we move on to the next song, like the outro piece, because everybody was like, "Where the?
My favorite part.
Yeah, why the fuck does it have an explicit tag?" That's because Tobias decided to sneak a fucking in there, where he's, you know. It's there, and then there is a fucking there. And I had a lot of people kind of like wondering, like, what is that lyric? And I kind of explained it like, have you ever been trying to tell somebody something, pointing something out, and it happens in real time as you're explaining it? It's like, I'm just spitballing here. It's like, oh, there's a mouse, like, over there. Like, you cut yourself off and fucking say, like, exactly. Oh, there it is. You know,
you're seeing it happen, you know, it's like, there's a fucking there, you know, it's that type of thing, you know, it's like, you know, look, there it is, you know, and it's that type of this line. I also have to, before we move on to the next track, I have to bring out my favorite line, which is the Hocus Pocus line.
Yes. I
love that. The abracadabra, Hocus Pocus.
It's just abracadabra, some Hocus Pocus sham. Fucking great line.
And the delivery of sham to where you could like kind of hear like shit, you know. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of, I don't doubt at all if that was intentional. The, you know, just the shh, you know, of that kind of bleeding out.
Oh, I love that. It works
incredibly well.
Absolutely. And moving onward from Marks of the Evil One to probably my second favorite on this one is Umbra. And for those of you out there that haven't heard, this song is about banging. In a church on an altar. Yeah.
Altar sex banger from Papa and the Ghouls.
In the shadows, pale and cold.
Yeah, we got some black candles lit. We got some freaky shit going on here. This is like some Rick James level shit, you know? This is, or maybe not to that extent. I shouldn't say, you know, maybe not that far, but you know what I'm getting at.
Dude.
You know the vibe. This is that like 70s like James Brown, or like who's the guy? Is it Barry White? You know?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
That level of descriptiveness where it's like,
you know what though? The cowbell I feel like is one of the stars of the show here.
Absolutely.
It's great though because it fits. There's a lot in this song that I can point out influentially as far as music goes. Like cowbell was the big thing in rock music in the 80s. Like it just was. And the big thing about this one I loved were the tom fills, that very like polyrhythm tom fill that's happening with the 4 on the floor beat, which is, it's giving Love is a Battlefield, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's giving Love is a Battlefield. And then the actual chorus, like when it hits like, in the chapel of the Holy One. That's very not that to me. That is extremely like Power Windows era Rush.
Yes,
like big, you know, synth stabs with the drums, and then even the melody is very Geddy Lee. Like not like the wailing Geddy Lee, but like when he had more like subdued vocals when they were letting more of the synthesizers do the talking, especially like from that era of like Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, and Hold Your Fire. Like that trilogy of albums is very present here.
This song is absolutely a 70s prog rock song.
Fuck yes.
You know, like you could see guys in like white suits on like the Midnight Special doing this or whatever show, you know, at the time. You could absolutely see, you know, the big organs and theatrical big drum set and everything. That kind of, I mean, it's got a fucking synth solo. You know, this song has a breakdown that goes full like King Crimson, Genesis, you know, that type of, Uriah Heep, Jethro Tull, that type of huge progressive thing,
My dude, this is a satanic tent revival.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought about. It reminded me of the tent revival in Blues Brothers 2000.
Yes.
Like that's the vibes I'm getting, like, cause obviously, like, the organ, like, it is a churchy organ, and it's like real quick. Like, what is it? It's like a Southern Baptist like thing, right? Like how they would do those fucking tent revivals. That's exactly what it reminds me of.
And it comes from that 70s soul, like that 70s soul type of revival type thing. In the 70s, you had, you're getting off of the kind of more James Brown thing and to more of a, what's the word, blues influenced Chicago soul.
Fuck yeah,
black
dude.
soul type thing, right? And it's that type of thing, which was working its way into rock music at the time too. All the time, you had those kind of Deep Purple-y breakdowns with that kind of organ thing and guitar parts, and it's that kind of more progressive thing. As you had the more kind of hard rock meat and potatoes stuff, you had the more kind of proggy breakdown, bluesy, soul influence thing happening too. All of those kind of come together here. So it does fit perfectly in that time period of what you're expecting with this album. Boston even, there's some Boston, the intro, of course, to Foreplay Long Time, right? That whole thing, with all those oscillating synths and, fast runs with guitars and drums. It interesting, actually. You know what? I just thought about something as we're talking about this is I heard the intro to Umbra, which of course is this what we hear in chapter 18 when we're first getting teased of Papa V Perpetua. And I remember saying, and I did a little edit of talking about how it reminded me of Boston. Specifically, like I was like, I heard drums coming in. I bet you this song is going to have elements of like that kind of 70s prog type of thing, like Foreplay a Long Time or anything off that first debut of Boston album. And I was kind of right because it does have that, with those synths coming in and, these big passages. It's huge.
One thing I was going to say about the keyboard bit and everything, and this kind of all ties into like a point I want to make about the double entendre or the double like meaning of this fucking song, which obviously it is about fucking in a church. But however, if you don't like think too deep, then you look surface level. In the chapel of the Holy One, in the presence of the chosen Son, I see your light shine through. In the temple of the godly scene, in the shadow of the Nazarene, I put my love in you. It's almost like as if to say, come to church where let Jesus in and let him love you. And with that fucking, very obvious, like churchy kind of sound and the subject matter that it actually is pertaining to, this is the most sacrilegious fucking shit ever.
It is. And, ghosts do that a lot, but also, churches I got to bring this up. Have you ever noticed how sexual every way Catholic and like Christian places talk about Jesus?
Yes.
Like unintentionally. There's a billboard in my town that said, "Let Jesus come inside of you." And that's like all it said on there. But it was huge. And it was just his face. And I was like, no one thought of how that could be read. Like, it's like, there's so many times where it's like, I felt the warm love of Jesus fill my body up. And it's like, bro. It's like, are you sure that you consented to that, bro? Like, where's that? Like, dude, like, you can't say this shit and then expect us not to fucking giggle. It's like, I felt the power of Christ come inside of me. It's like,
and you
Jesus,
dude. Yeah, you hear that and you just hear a fucking like total, like in the very back row, just,
Yeah, literally. It's like, have you let Jesus Christ come inside of you today? It's like, there's no better way to say that. Like,
bro,
it's like, have you felt his love fill you up? Like, it's like the warm Jesus Christ. It's like, stop calling that. Like, do you have to? Like,
that let us all come together. Like, no.
Let Jesus come with you. Like, it's like, no. It's like,
no thanks.
Leave room for Jesus. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. It's like, y'all are weird.
God. Umbra? More like Cumbra, am I right?
Yeah.
God damn it. Great fucking song, man.
Phenomenal. Great. I have no notes.
Yeah, exactly. No notes on that motherfucker.
Nope.
And let's move over to the closer of this album, Excelsis.
Already?
Yeah, it went by so fast. I mean, not as you're listening to this, it's been like over an hour, but still, like, it goes by fast.
Yeah, even this goes by fast.
That's right. This one is the most different ballad in terms of composition. This could have fit on Prequel.
It's interesting. I remember an interview with Tobias where he said that like Raquel was too ballad heavy, in his opinion, looking back on it, and that maybe he would have made it a little less ballad heavy. It's interesting because this album is also ballad heavy, but it almost works better for me here. I don't know why. Flow wise, it doesn't feel as. I'll have to think about why that is. But this track, that being said, is one that did not grip me. I listened to it the first time I listened to this album. I got my copy early. I got to hear it a couple days before, or a day before or so. And I didn't listen to it again. I told myself, I don't think I like this track. And days went on, and I just kept hearing in my head, Excel. And I was thinking to myself, it's been stuck in my head so much. Maybe I should listen to it again. And every time I listen to it, it grows on me more and more.
Yeah, I like the pre-chorus a lot. The you will too, I will too part. Like I especially like the vocal, the melody of that line in particular. I think it's very catchy. It's very hooky. It's different sounding because like it's not very conventional. I mean, am I making sense there with that? Like it doesn't sound very conventional.
No, nothing about this song is. It's this song. The best way I can describe it. Take it negatively or positively as you will. For each person, it'll be different. It's not as much a song as it's an experience for me. It's not written in a typical way to where it's like, I want to put the song on its own. But on the album, I can never skip it. You know?
It's a proper closer.
It is. And it's so theatrical, but not in the way of like, this is almost a musical theater song, you know? Mm-hmm. It has its passages and its thing. It's where it goes, and I like it a lot. But it's a very interesting compositional piece because it doesn't do the typical music thing you would expect of pop choruses and strong writing structure. It almost doesn't flow. And I don't mean that negatively. It works for the kind of unsettling things, but that chorus, you know, rhythmically, it is kind of jolted. It kind of jumps with that chorus, that excel, right? Papa, right? It's kind of as opposed to more flowing, and it works for me.
Yeah, definitely in context with the rest of the album fitting in. I think it is like the one track, like you mentioned, I think it is the one track from this album that I wouldn't pick by itself and just play it.
Yeah.
You can do that with a lot of songs on this album. Like you could pick one song out and play it or whatever, but like it goes back to our initial like comment where like you really, it sucks you in. Like it's a no skipper for me, even though this is the very last song, and admittedly it's my least favorite on this album. I still will not skip it. I still won't skip it. Once I get past Umbra, I have to hear this fucking song or it's not complete. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't work for me as a standalone Ghost song, but it works for me as a closer on this album.
Yeah, given the lyrical content of everything prior.
Yes. And it ends on, you know, the whole song deals with, you will die. I will die. But there's a comfort in that. The fear of eternity.
Yeah, because the very last line in the song is, I am afraid of eternity too. What is it like would you think it's like a Life Eternal sequel almost?
Yes. We talked about this with Life Eternal. You know, I remember thinking like, I just listened to that episode. We talked about how there's a comfort in that this will end. That sounds really morbid and dark, but I remember talking about like the Dracula comparison, you know, that being a vampire is a curse because the longer you live, you watch everyone else die. And, you know, there is a kind of comfort to whatever suffering, which as the first line says, or whatever, you know, horrors happen in your life, there is an end to it. And that's not in the way of like, I hate my life, I'm going to die, but in a like, we're here for a short amount of time. We got to live our lives while we're here and enjoy it, make the most of it because it's temporary. But that's not a bad thing. There's a comfort in that it all, no matter what happens, you know, how bad things are, it all is eventually over. So, you know, enjoy the times you have. You know, it's an acceptance thing.
While I can admit this is not my favorite on this record, it's a great fucking song. It's composed well. The message gets across. I think lyrically it works, you know, and I think even though it's not my favorite, I think lyrically it's some of my favorite lyrics. Which is it's just really weird to fucking say where it's like, oh, it's not my favorite song, but the fucking lyrics slap. You know what I mean?
It's like Pro Memoria mixed with Life Eternal. It's a very Prequel kind of closer, and it works really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
But it might not be my favorite on the album, but it works in the context of the album. I can't complain about it, and I can't think of a really better way to close the album too. I think part of it too is like objectively for me, or I wouldn't say objectively, but personally for me, it's not as strong as Respite was on the last record.
No,
as a closer, it's not as strong as Monster and Clock. It's not as strong. It's one of the weaker album closers, but given what this album is, the themes of this album, and where it is strong songs, and then one that is still a good song, but to me isn't as strong. So it does kind of end on kind of a more, wanting more end. But that works pacing wise for me. The pacing on this album for me is phenomenal because it goes by so quick. And it makes me, when I get to the end of the song, it makes me okay with when my phone automatically starts playing Peaceful again.
This album does work on a loop too. Not like in the sense that Impera works on a loop where it is intended to be kind of a looping experience, as the thematics of it were. There aren't really, like we mentioned, there's not really connective tissues here. However, if you listen on repeat, you won't notice it. Like I always say that if you get so enthralled with like a playlist or an album that you don't realize it's already gone by completely, to me, that's a perfect album or a perfect listening experience,
I absolutely agree.
So with Skeletá, there's a couple things, like obviously we'll give it our ratings and stuff, but I want, before we get to the ratings, I actually have a new question to ask you on this one, just because I think given our similar experiences with taking this album in, I think it's a perfect split. It's 10 songs, which means there's 5 songs on side A, 5 songs on side B. Which side of this record is your preferred side?
You know what? Side B.
Fucking same, dude. I said that the other day. I was like, you know what, man? Like, I love the singles that came out, but fuck, man, the back half of this album just slaps. It just fucking
it's so
eats
different that it's
it eats and leaves no crumbs, honestly. No, and that's including Excelsis. Like, I think it works. You know what I mean? Like, it does. God damn.
I need this album as its entirety, but I do love that second half so much. I've heard the singles, so many times.
Sure.
The second half of this album does something very different, and I appreciate it,
It's like the songs that they wouldn't conventionally work as singles. Like, I think Umbra conventionally works as a single. However, the other songs are just good. They're fucking hooky and they're composed well. Those songs are going to be the ones that prop this album up in terms of, like, comparatively speaking to the rest of the catalog. I think the back half of Skeletá stands up firmly against the best of Ghost's earlier catalog.
It's one of my favorites, and it grows on me more and more. And I think that if you go into this album with a completely open mind, you will have a phenomenal time with it, and it could become one of your favorites easily. Same. It's going to be very divisive. It is divisive with people already because it's not exactly what you expect from Ghost, but that for me is where it's a standout.
Yeah, I think over time this will be a slow burn for the people that don't really care for it, but we'll go back and re-listen to it. I think over time it will become more appreciated by that crowd. What's your rating out of 5 on this one?
I got to think on this.
For those of you listening out there that haven't heard, like it's personal, like we do personal and objective. So
personal, 4.2, 4.3 out of 5. No, 4.5. 4.5 personal, 4.2 objective. 4.5 personal, 4.2 objective.
Gotcha. Objectively,
that's high.
Yeah. Objectively, for me, that's a 4.3, 4.4. Personally, this is a 4.75. This is nearly a fucking perfect album for me, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't even disagree with that. The only reason I said 4.5 is that felt high to me, but at the same time, if I could, I'd say 5.
That's what I'm saying. Like a 4, because we've mentioned this several times. at least to me, there's no actual perfect album. Like everybody's like, oh, give it a 10 out of 10, give it a 5 out of 5. Man, like 5 out of 5, in my opinion, is something that you give like the Beatles. It's something that you give those fucking albums, the ones that have been around for like 50 fucking years, that my kid and like if he ever has kids, like his potential kids would fucking know the White Album by the Beatles, like hands down. That's what I think of in terms of like when you give an album something that high of a regard, it's something that's going to be around for fucking decades, like legitimately be around for decades. This album feels like a time capsule from like 40 years ago, but it's so modern at the same time that it fits in what is happening. Ghost, this album in particular, I feel like it's keeping rock music on the forefront. It's got its finger firmly on the pulse, I think. But 4.75 for me, like personally, it hits everything for me, dude. This is a total like nostalgia trip for me. I think the production is very well done. I think lyrically it's some of Tobias's best work. I think musically it's some of his best ideas ever put to fucking paper and put on a record.
Yeah, I can't think of many, if at all, critiques on this album. It is a visually stunning era. The ghouls look fucking phenomenal this era. Papa V Perpetua looks fucking phenomenal. The production on the videos, the new chapters are fucking phenomenal. We could talk about that for hours of, just the visuals this era and this touring cycle. And I think that we are just in for the best possible time for Ghost. It's a great time to where Ghost feels like Ghost. You got that spooky, satanic Pope rock band while also having a fucking phenomenal album that joins the ranks of classics. They're at the point where there's nothing left to prove. And you hear it on this album. There's nothing to prove. There's nowhere to be. There's nowhere to go. They're just doing what they want to do. If you like it, awesome. If you don't, also awesome. You have the old albums to look back on. They can do other things while evolving and being a new band and still feeling like Ghost. And I'm absolutely down to see where they go next.
Same.
What's next? I would be okay with going somewhere else from 80s. Where do we go? Where can we do? What other stuff of sounds can we do? But also, if they want to keep making 80s rock bangers, I'm fine with that. I love it.
Yeah, me too. And it's okay. Like I feel like we need to say this because like I've seen a lot of like discourse about this online. Like it's fun to just be like, yeah, man, fucking haters, in a poking fun kind of way. But like in a serious matter, like it is okay if you don't like this album. It's very much okay if this isn't your favorite Ghost album. It's very much okay if it didn't grip you the way that Opus Eponymous or Meliora or Prequel did. If like Impera is your fucking banger Ghost album, Impera is your fucking banger Ghost album. It doesn't matter. Anthony and I have preached this since like day one. It doesn't matter. As long as you are a fan of the music, you are a Ghost fan. If you are a fan of this music, that's all that fucking matters. It doesn't have to be every album. If you like the
music, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be every single album. You can be only
every song.
Right, exactly. You can be like, oh, Infestissimum is my shit. I tolerate the other albums, but Infestissimum is my shit. You're still a Ghost fan. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I will say, and it isn't even just like, oh, it's brand new and it's fucking fresh and blah, blah, blah. I've sat with this album. This is easily my second favorite Ghost album. Like, honestly, like it's almost fucking peak. I've done my rankings. Yeah, it's firmly at number 2 for me, dude. And that's because it's the shit. So yeah, that's fucking Skeletá, man. And
it is.
Dude.
Long live Papa V.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm excited to see where this era goes and what's in the future for the band. And as far as you and I and GonstFM Off Air goes, Ghoulettes and guesties out there, we have much more content coming your way. This was a very fun way to get this new era of the podcast kicked off with talking about albums that we love from a band that we very much fucking enjoy. We've got other content coming your way, such as like, we'll probably get into like era discussion, costumes, masks, music videos, you name it, we'll probably get into it. Maybe we'll do another series. Maybe we'll just do some one-off episodes, but this series...
We're not going anywhere.
No, fuck no. This series has been a blast and a half.
It has. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
I'm sad it's over, but I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too. I hope everybody out there listening is looking forward to more content from us in the future.
If this is your first time listening to this podcast, look back, listen to the other ones. look back in the show, in the meantime, look back and, when you're done with this, you've watched the series, look back. There's great interviews on this channel. There's great episodes. There's great stuff, on here to look back on, even before I was co-hosting, as just a fan. There's great stuff to watch and listen to. And, if you're looking for more ghost content while getting ready for your ritual, there's so much here to look back through on the channel, and on YouTube, Apple Music, everywhere, podcasts. Check it out for sure. And look forward to so much more, because we've been brainstorming like a motherfucker on, we could be making content for years upon years upon years, with just the amount of stuff that we want to get to. And we're going to dive right into that pretty much.
As long as you keep coming back, we'll keep making content. And even if you don't come back, We're still going to make content anyway. So fuck it.
Yeah, it'll be just us talking to the void until we're skeletons,
Yes.
I'll have this mic here. One of these days we'll have to do a retirement and then a reunion tour and, a legacy hologram act.
That's it. And even in hologram form, we will be as old as ancient Papa Nil when he showed up the first time, talking like the fucking Sith Lord that he was.
Yep. It's a good time to be a Ghost fan. It's a good time to be on the podcast.
For past, present, and future episodes of GonstFM Off Air, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. You can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a rating and leave comments on individual episodes on Spotify. And if you're listening to this episode on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to it, clicking the bell for notifications for future episodes, leaving a like on this video, leaving a comment down below. Any engagement helps. If you would like to follow us on either of our social media platforms, all this information can be found in our show notes below. And so, our dearest Godslings, that brings this week's episode to a close. Some of you we will see in Internet Land, and the rest of you we will see in GonstFam. Take care of yourselves, and remember, until next time, in Gonst, we trotst. I'm Papa X.
And I'm Uncle Ghoul.
And we'll catch you next time.